Welcome back to the Artefactors Union. I'm your host and foreman, Douglas Scoundrels. Today we are assembling the Brotherhood of the Rat box. The box has a lot of miniatures in it, but quite a few repeat models, so despite there being 12 technically in here, this video isn't going to be nearly as long. Also, none of them are too terribly complicated, so yay for me. Anyways, Brother of the Rat contains 12 minis, as I said before. We've got 2 rat catchers, one being this gentleman here holding the rat, 2 rat kings, this coat filled with rats with the crown, and then 8 Malifaux rats. See 2 of them here. That is our artwork on the back. We can see that despite there being 2 rat kings listed, you only see 1 sculpt because that is the same sculpt. And then same for the Malifaux rats. There are 4 unique sculpts, so there's 8 in the box. So we'll be assembling 2 of each of these sculpts. And then the rat catchers are the 2 unique ones here. One bag man with rats, and then the singular man who is conversing with the rat, about to eat it. I don't know. Anyways, that's our box. Now let's look at the sprues. Right here are our sprues. You got the 2 rat kings here. We've got 4 of our 8 Malifaux rats. There is another sprue in the box. I just happened to use that sprue for another video. Doesn't really matter though. And then our unique rat catchers, which we will start with. Again, none of these look too terribly complicated, so we should be able to do this quickly. Let's look at the instructions for the rat catchers and the rat king first, and then go over our first one, rat catcher 1, which on the sprue is listed as rat catcher 1. However, in the instructions, it is rat catcher 2. For Ratcatcher 1, we're going to clip out the body, then we'll add the left arm as well as the backpack, then we will do the right arm and finish with the right hand holding the rat. Alright, here's the body. Now let's add the left arm, which is the one holding the cage. As long as it's perpendicular to the ground, it should be fine. It doesn't wiggle as much as you think it would, just because the shoulder doesn't have any teeth to it to really set it correctly, but it goes in fine. Now let's add the backpack, which connects right here with the twist being on the top. Okay. Twist, opening, whatever. Alright, now our right arm, which will just go right in the shoulder socket. Alright, pretty good. Well, our last bit, the right hand holding the rat, which is, goodness, my camera is not working well today. It's going to go on the end of the wrist. Thankfully, it also looks like the body of the rat will glue to the forearm, so it's not just the wrist that is a connection point. Right, our rat catcher is done. Let's put him on a base. Our first rat catcher is completed. We're going to call this one Linguini. The hardest part for him was attaching the rat and the hands to the right arm, but since there's that big connection point on the forearm, really not that difficult. Overall, quite an easy model to do, so we'll just call it good and move on. For our second rat catcher, we are going to, we'll cut out the body and add the leg and the left arm. Then we'll cut out the right arm holding the sack, the other half of the sack, and the rats pouring out of the sack, glue them all together, and then finally add that blob onto the body, attaching it to the right shoulder socket and the left hand. Right, so grab the body first, and then the leg. Body, now the leg is just going to go on the end there. Probably use a flat thing to make sure that the feet are flat on the ground. Now let's add it. There we go. I mentioned before, just set them on a flat surface to make sure that both feet are flat on the ground. Alright, now let's add the left arm. Seam looks good. Alright, set the body down. Now let's grab our part of the sack with the right arm attached, and add the other half of the sack. Alright. That's good. Now we'll just add our flow of rats right here. Okay, rats are in. Now we can just attach this to his body on the right sleeve and glue his left arm wherever it ends up being. I'm going to guess probably something like right there. There's our right shoulder seam. Good, and I was correct. That's exactly where the left arm attaches. Our second rat catcher is done. Put him on a base. Our second rat catcher is completed. We're going to call this one Big Stuart. The hardest part for him was the fitting the shoulders into the shoulder socket, I guess. Well, okay, no, the leg was probably the most precarious connection point. Yeah, we'll say the right leg. All right, let's move on. All right, we're just going to build one Rat King here on the video. You will have two to assemble, but I don't see a point in doing the exact same thing over again. So just loop the video if you want. So for our Rat King, we're going to cut out our two halves of the body, and then we'll do the obvious stuff. The sash on the back of the head, which goes right there. The tied knot of the sash around the waist, which connects right in there. Then this rat tail goes in somewhere in the back, I think. I'll need to figure that out first. And lastly, this rat tail will be somewhere along here, I believe. But let's get the obvious stuff out of the way. First, let's do the two halves of the body. Actually, we need to add the longer tail to this bit before, which is the back bit, before we put the other half of the body on. Yeah, so you can actually see the connection point right in here. So there's that first initial bar, and then it does like a 90-degree turn and comes out this way. So you'll need to glue that in there for, again, the longer tail, which is this one. Alright, there we go. Now let's just quickly on the second half of the body, and that will just get it nice and locked in there. Alright, those are the two halves together. See them over there. Now let's do the sashy bit that goes right along there, which is this guy. It's in, easy enough. Let's flip to the front, two bits left. Let's do the belt sashy thing that goes right there. And as you can see, the connection point is that nice tooth. Voila. Our last bit, the tiny tail. It is going to glue right in here. I would just suggest using the render to figuring out exactly how it's positioned, its orientation. The tail is in. He's all done. Put him on a 40. The Rat King is done. We're gonna call this one Nero and the other one Caligula. Again, they're the same sculpt, so I don't feel like needing to show the second model. Hardest part for this one is that rat tail that, if you didn't know, it had to go in between the two halves of the body before you put them together. You'd be kind of screwed. That sucks. I'm glad I figured that out. And now you know. Okay, let's move on. I'm exceptionally lazy, so I'm just going to reuse footage of me assembling these. Let's go. Some Malifaux Rats. At least most of them are very simple. The numbers on the bottom actually align with the instructions. Hooray. So we'll start with rat number 2, and rat number 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess let's look our instructions real quick. Alright, for rat number 1, we'll just combine the two halves, the base and the rat. For rat number 2, we'll just combine the two halves, the left and right side. For rat number 3, we'll combine the two halves, the left and right side. For rat number 4, we'll go ahead and add the head, then the left arm, and then the tail. I'm not going to show individual models in between this because the majority of them are extremely simple, so we'll just review the whole set of 4. For rat number 1, we have our base. Now let's add the rat on top of it. Okay, he's all done. Number 2, we have the right side, which is the one with the tail. Now add the left side. There's our ratty boy. For our third rat, we've got the left side, which contains the head and the tail. Now let's add the right side. Okay, all done. Right, rat number 4, let's add the head first, right up here. Rat head added. Now the left front leg. Okay, left leg done. Last bit, the tail, which is not going to go right there on his butt. And the tail is looping around to his right side, but he's all done. Our 4 Malifaux Rats are done. We're going to call them Remy, Splinter, Rizzo, and Radigan. Assign whatever names to whichever one. Yeah, Hardest part was all in the fourth one. Just the tiny, tiny bits of the head and the left arm and the tail. Watch out for the tails in general, they're just quite fragile. But the nice thing is that out of all of them, only one of them was at any point slightly difficult. Now let's look at the whole box. The Brotherhood of the Rat box is done, containing 2 rat catchers, 2 rat kings, I only have 1 here, and 8 Malifaux rats, I only have 4 of them here. Hardest part for this box was the tails being just kind of very fragile on both the rats and the rat king, as well as the tiny body parts of the 4th rat. That's really it. Pretty simple box overall. Well, I've been your foreman, Douglas Scoundrels, helping you build a better Malifaux. Have a good night.